Hi, my name is Felix the Cat Pollard, Vater Artist since 2009. I've been playing drums since I was 2 years old. I started playing when the interest came from me hanging out with my babysitters. They had a band and they played all of the, like, your Earth, Wind and Fire and your early funk stuff. And I just took to the drums, and my mother said that I would wake up out of my sleep just swinging in the air if I heard music come on or something like that. So my early influences were a guy by the name of Kevin Bronson. He played with a group called the Milton Bronson and the Thompson Community Singers Gospel Choir. The guy Timothy Lee, actually the first person that ever put drumsticks in my hand, back in Chicago. The first record I bought, drum record, was Billy Cobham's Spectrum. I enjoyed listening to Buddy Rich, bunch of the old school guys, your Cozy, just a lot of the old jazz stuff, traditional old jazz musicians. Man, I started playing, in and around Chicago at about 10, other than outside of church, about 10 years old. And I think it really clicked at about the age of 16. I was about a sophomore in high school, and I got a call to actually go out of town and play for the first time in Houston. And I knew then that was what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure which direction I wanted to go, but I knew I wanted to play drums and play drums at the highest level possible. So I just started listening to a lot of different styles of music, and wanted to always be well-versed in whatever I got a call for. I would at least have a feel for it. It kind of started out playing in church, of course. Then in high school, I was I auditioned and made the All-City High School Band, High School Jazz Ensemble in Chicago. I played in the concert band at school. Played the first club when I was 16 years old. It was a club called the Jazz Bulls. Worked with different artists like Bobby Broom, really incredible guitar player, Billy Dickens, phenomenal bass player, Ken Chaney, just a number of really strong blues artists in Chicago, which is Chicago's big blues city. So I was listening to a lot of different styles, blues, jazz, the gospel stuff. Got out and started playing some rock, a little more edgier style of music that was different than what I was always accustomed to listening to. 1990, I'll go back to 95, I met Sheila E. I was doing a show called Midnight Mac. The late comedian Bernie Mac, dear friend of mine, he did a show called Midnight Mac, and it was on HBO, and it was the #1 show in our time slot for the entire for a few months in October. It was a pilot show. I met Sheila E. there, and I've always wanted to move to LA, to Los Angeles, but never quite saw an opportunity to do so. But in 1999, I made up in my mind, hey, I'm doing it. I'm moving out to LA, and got in the hustle. I had Sheila E. actually called me to audition for a gig with her, a Millennium gig, and the gig ended up, we started rehearsing and the gig got canceled, but I was still able to move out to LA January 15th, 2000, and got in there. Some good friends of mine, another Vater artist, Gordon Campbell, hooked me up with a church situation I was able to maintain while moving to LA. And things just kind of happened from there. I worked with Anastasia for about 3 years, and then did some smooth jazz stuff with a few different artists, and then started subbing Lionel Richie's gig. And it's still one of the gigs that's in my regular rotation. I've worked with American Idol artists Clay Aiken, Taylor Hicks. I've done American Idol Hollywood Week the last 4 years, so I've worked with all of the winners the last 4 years. I'm out presently touring with House of Pain and Everlast, and that's been a lot of fun. So I get an opportunity to play many different styles of music. It's a challenge going from literally one gig, one setup, one sound sonically to a completely different setup sonically, sound-wise. The one thing that really don't change is my sticks. Sticks don't change. I'm using a Vater custom stick. Be on the lookout for it. It's a really, really hip stick. Gig-wise, that's pretty much. I started out. I skipped this, but I started out doing a bunch of gospel plays, and it allowed me the opportunity to work with many, many different artists, musicians, singers, actors. So it got me prepared for my move to LA and to be able to work steadily at this point. Auditioning. First off, learn the music, come prepared. Very, very important for older guys, younger guys as well as older guys. One of the biggest things to auditioning, or the biggest keys to auditioning, is being prepared. And playing an artist's music as it's been recorded. And then you can enhance or add to that just a little bit. You would be surprised how many guys have gotten major gigs by just playing an artist's music. Sometimes artists have hits, a long line of hits, and a hit is a hit. It doesn't necessarily leave room for your interpretation of their hit. So if there's an advice about auditioning, is be prepared and learn whatever artist it is, learn their material. Touring. Man, I've been touring since about 1991, and still able to do it to this day. It's fun, it's exciting. You meet a lot of people, you see a lot of places, you eat, get an opportunity to try different foods, see and be in different cultural environments. It's great opportunity if you can maximize the opportunity. It can also be it can be a little rough, out sometimes when, some tours you have techs and engineers and people that take care of you and guys that make sure all you have to do is sit down on the drums and play and get up and walk away. But there are times that you have to be a team player and set your own stuff up and be courteous to other people that are on the tour or on tour buses, in venues, because it's a lot of people, but it's a really small circle, and you don't necessarily want to be the guy that was that much more difficult to get along with. And remember, nice guys finish first. I tell that to my friends, a lot of people, younger guys. Hey, you don't have to be, rude and ignorant and all of that to work and have a sustainable career. It's hard sometimes leaving your families and that kind of thing. I have 3 boys at home. I have a lovely wife, and it can be hard. I don't know what the biggest disaster was, but I do know what the most highly stressful situation was. The very first time I played with Lionel Richie, we did the Oprah Winfrey show. And they were putting a medley together, and I got the medley on the way to the airport. It's a 3-song medley, and I had to memorize it and be ready to play with no rehearsals, just a sound check. Next day we taping. That was highly stressful, but that wasn't the biggest thing about it. After we did the medley, they had this thing called an after show, in which Oprah wanted to hear more songs. She was like, oh, could you guys do this and could you do that? So it was like, okay, and the music director, Chucky Booker, is talking in the ears. He said, hey, they want to do this. You know it? I was like, okay, let's go. And I had been studying the tapes and stuff from before, so I was able to pull it off with no glitches whatsoever, and it really worked out really, really good. So yeah, that was definitely the most stressful of positions I've ever been in. Miles Davis would have been one of the gigs that I would have definitely wanted to, one of the musicians, because I love Miles Davis. Actually, I named my son after, his middle name is Miles, and it was after the great Miles Davis. But living, I wouldn't mind working with Paul McCartney. I wouldn't mind working with Paul McCartney. I met him. We were on the show together, the Nobel Peace Prize concert, I think in 2003. So I would like to really work with him. I've been to his concert. Him, Tina Turner. I think I want to play I Can't Stand the Rain. I want to play that song with her. Man, I've been really, really blessed to work with some really, really wonderful artists, different genres, different backgrounds. Yeah, and I really get a chance to, express myself, and most of the artists that I work with trust me that I'll, play the right thing and give 100% every night and do my best and try and represent, keep a good name and have people always want to call you back and enjoy being around you on stage as well as off stage. I've been with a previous company for a number of years. I'm not one of the guys that like to jump around and move around a bit. Once I find something that I really enjoy using, whether it be drums, cymbals, sticks, heads, pedals, whatever, I tend to stick with it and build a relationship and go forward. But the Vater thing came across my way. I was fortunately, again, my career has grown over the years, and a particular company was not quite ready to grow. And when Trevor Lawrence, Trevor called, and actually that was the second part of the meeting. Trevor called and said, "Hey man, I heard through the grapevine, you kind of looking to do something else." But prior to that, I was in a hotel, and they had all of these Vater drumsticks. It's up in somewhere along on the eastern border, but they have like all these Vater drumsticks. And it was like, "Oh, you're a drummer? The Vater guy comes in here all the time," and so I was like, "All right, I'm gonna check them out." And I remember calling Chad and say, "Hey man, I'm doing this," and I was on the smooth jazz gig at the time. I was like, "Hey man, I'm doing this, and I'm really interested in the stick." And he was like, "Okay," but I went out and bought several pair of recording models, used them and loved them, and years went by, and I reached out Trevor initiated the second reach out, and then I reached out to Chad. He sent me a bunch of stuff to try out and said, hey, man, let me know what you think, whatever. And it took like 6 months because it takes me just a long time to really, you know, find what I like and that kind of thing. And, you know, we met up at NAMM show a couple times, and I was like, hey, man, I'm ready to make the move and make the switch. And we came up with a really cool stick that met my every need. Then I was able to use the one stick on every single thing. On the Lionel Richie, heavier stuff that I was playing, on the Clay Aiken big band stuff that I was doing, on the smooth jazz stuff with Jonathan Butler I was doing. It was just, I was able to use one stick for everything. I could lay into the ride cymbal, I could lay into the crash cymbal, I could lay into the hi-hats, and it didn't, and it was versatile. It was a very versatile stick, and I was able to use it, and I've been playing nothing but the custom stick for the last 2.5 years. This is Felix the Cat saying thank you for checking us out. Keep them dancing. Thanks to Vater. Peace out.